first of all, congratulations.
Thank you. Insane, right?
I know.
Yeah.
So we were
Stunned.
we were over in the screening panel for Justice League Orwell, and I was watching the results coming out on my phone.
Yeah.
Okay, the cover has won, and then I saw after the film, I was like, yes! Oh my god, you won!
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How did it feel?
Oh, it was ridiculous. It was so unexpected because I don't know if you heard the story, but Tom King, when I sat down at the Eisners, he'd found out like with a certainty that Chip Zdarsky had won this Eisner. Somehow he had inside information. So he told me, he's like, hey man, so you're not disappointed for later, I just want to let you know that, Chip wins. Sorry.
I'm
like, oh cool, yeah. Right. And then it turns out that like there was a crosswire and Chip had won Best New Series for Public Domain, which is a fantastic book. Like, such a great book. Chip sent that to me ages ago. I'm like, oh, you bastard. Such a great book. Yeah, so I just didn't know I mean. So I ended up grabbing Tom as I took him up for my acceptance speech and just abused him as the beginning of that speech because I had no idea what I was going to say because I hadn't planned anything because I knew I'd lost. Yeah. So it was. Yeah, everything was very spontaneous up on that stage because I was genuinely stunned. And Jess Chan, who's leaving comics unfortunately because somebody's paying her much more. And we will miss her so much. But just having her be up on stage and collect award after award and really acknowledge everything she's done. And I was so sad that Bruno, my brother in comics, couldn't be there to get that adulation and get everything that he deserves.
And it's been the last couple of years for Nightwing in general has just been insane.
Yeah.
Like both of us are diehard Nightwing fans, as
Good.
it is.
As you should be.
But I feel like in the time you've been shepherding this character, he has just become the centre of the DCU.
Yeah. As he should be.
As he should. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. How does that feel to have been part of this and seeing how much fans love what you've done with him, just issue after issue?
I don't know because sometimes I check in on Twitter and apparently it's the worst comic in the world.
Ignore them.
Yeah.
Ignore them. What do they know? We do.
Yeah.
As you should.
Look, it's great because it was also our mission statement from the beginning. Like when I pitched this book to begin with, I said, Nightwing is an A-lister. We need to remind people of that. What Bruno and I want to do is put him back on the pedestal he deserves to be.
Yeah.
We want to make him the center of the DC universe. We want people to understand why he's so important and have his heart and his good natured and the idea that he just wants to help spread across the DC universe, and it really has. Leading up to, Titans and leading a whole new the new premier superhero team of the DC universe.
It brings me on perfectly to it.
Thanks. I was trying to create a link for you. Yeah, seamless, right? So long as we don't oddly stop and acknowledge it. Yeah.
So you have this amazing moment in that Bruce where it's like, I want there is no Justice League, take on this team, and then you come out of Dark Crisis, there is no Justice League, the Titans are now there, they are the central team of the DCU. What does that mean for them as characters?
I just think, Nicola does this better. Ask Nicola, what does this mean?
What does this mean for the Titans?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Say the question again.
Everyone loves the Titans. Let's be completely honest, they are amazing. We've all grown up with them in some respect, be it cartoons, be it the Titans TV show. Now here they are in comics, this central team.
Yeah.
What does that mean for them as characters?
Well, I think you just said it in the question. The fact that we have all, regardless of how old you are, at some point we've grown up with them.
Yeah.
Because they've been around for so long and they have just sort of had that age sort of growth that we all sort of feel nostalgic about at some point in time. Whether it be from the 80s comics, from the 60s comics, from like the TV show or the cartoons, we've all had an influence from them in our lives, and so to sort of find ourselves being able to play with them as adults, taking the responsibility that they've been sort of working towards their whole lives have been training to take over, and here they are sort of getting that responsibility and taking it in their stride. It's not that much of a shock to them because they're ready and willing to go, and their dynamic is so balanced because they grew up together.
Yes.
That there isn't this sort of unnecessary need for conflict.
Yeah.
They're not sort of like different people coming together to form a super team.
Yeah.
They're a super team.
Yeah.
And the nature of their upbringing has made them a family.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't want to diss the Justice League while we're in the DC mood, but I do feel like when you have the Titans, they are a family.
Yeah.
And as you just said, they've grown up together. And you said it perfectly, you know, they're not a group of superpowered people who've just been thrown together because the world needs them. And I think that really shines in, I mean, I've never really 2 issues in, but that really shines through in the story that we've got. But I wanted to ask you about kind of drawing that, where you're not just doing the big super team, you have this family and this connection between them. How is that drawing that, bringing that to life? Because it feels to me more warm and emotional than maybe the big blockbuster super team kind of thing.
Well, a little bit of that was sort of like my style choice, art-wise, of how to approach the book. I said to Brittany, our editor, right at the beginning, do you want this to sort of artistically have like an Earth 2 flavor or like a Wonder Woman flavor in terms of my art?
Yeah.
Because I will try to adapt the finishing of my art to the book. You know, like my characters always look like my characters, my storytelling is always my storytelling, but how I'll sort of finish my line work really depends on the content of the book.
Yeah.
And she immediately said, like Wonder Woman, like make it bright and shiny and glossy.
Yes.
And I was like, right, because this is the Titans, we're not going to be doing unnecessary conflict. We don't want it to feel sort of heavy and edgy and full of dark shadows. I'm going to keep it light and bright. I was saying to Annette, we're going full superhero, bright and glossy, shiny, happy people. And she was like, great. So she got the note, I got the note. And from there, it just sort of like, we're creating a warm environment for these people. You know, Bruno did this beautiful design of Titan's Tower. And I'm now getting to go inside the building. And like, okay, what are these spaces going to look like? I want their sort of shared space to feel like a home, because they're all going to be living there together. They're all adults, you know. It's not a frat house anymore. They're grown-ups, and I want their home to feel like an adult space for them to share with some comfort, as well as having their own spaces.
As well as having a couch and a TV. And
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
acknowing like the Titans TV, like
definitely
cartoon,
pizza in front of the
we
TV,
have
right?
to have them sitting on the couch and watching TV. It's important.
And it's just obviously they're a little bit older now as well. They're growing up a bit. And
Well, yeah,
you're defining this era of them as young adults now.
Yep.
Well, 100%, because not only are they sort of in their late 20s, these are guys that have been having to do adult stuff since they're tweens. So this is a pretty sophisticated group of 20-somethings. This isn't, you know, a friends group who are, you know, still trying to find themselves. These guys have worked it out. They're way more advanced in terms of their maturity than the average 27-year-old, because they've had to go through it. You know, when you look back at their lives, they're 80, you know, for some of them plus lives. They've gone through it, and for them to sort of find themselves back together again at this point in time is a comfort. You know, this is their safe space. This is their family. This is how they're going to be at their most comfortable living with each other.
I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to do the pick your favorite child moment.
Oh, jeez.
Do you have a favorite to draw for?
No, because I love them all.
Right answer. Absolutely the right answer.
It's the dynamic between them
Yes.
that I love.
It's beautiful.
You know, drawing a single character is, you know, always lighter on the workload. But drawing the space in between the characters is actually what I get the most out of when I'm working on a book. Which is why I sort of, you know, I quite enjoy working on team books, because you get the variety of these sort of personalities and body types and body language and costumes. But it's the dynamic between them that I find the most enjoyable thing enjoy and sort of portray for the reader.
And we're obviously a bit of a break at the moment whilst everyone is asleep. Having some really sweet
Everyone's having a nap.
Sure.
For 2 months.
Just resting up.
Yep.
Issue 1 alone, near nuclear disaster.
Yep. Yeah.
What else do we have? A murder mystery.
Murder mystery.
Some government kind of, maybe a bit of Dawn of DC style.
Yeah.
Underwater peacemakery stuff going
Yeah.
on. What on earth is going to happen when we come back? When everyone wakes up refreshed,
Yeah.
where are we going?
We are going straight to the Church of Eternity.
Ooh.
Because they've said they have had a rebrand doesn't mean that the Titans who've dealt with them for a very long time will trust that. And obviously, everything we're sort of building here then leads us into the massive November event for DC Comics, which is the first Titans-led event in a very, very long time, called Beast World. So that's where we're going. And everything that Nicola and I are putting into this book is pieces of that are all heading there.
Amazing.
Yes.
Well, thank you
so
both
many plots. So many plots.
for chatting to me today. I can't wait to read more, and I'm loving Nightwing, I'm loving Titans. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, Super Friends. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button just down below and hit the bell so that you can get notified whenever we release brand new videos. In fact, there's 2 more waiting for you to watch right here below. So what are you waiting for? Why not click play?